Welcome to the United Awakening. My name is Mikael Ananda, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about a new way of looking at things. And this is based on a long conversation I had with a good friend, and it came to change my perspective of things quite drastically, and I think in a very good way. And it's basically about our perception, how we choose to perceive things. And as for a long time I have got into this major concept of looking at the world like them against us. It's the little elite who are conspiring against the masses, and that they have taken control over our resources and are exploiting us. So this is a point of view, but this point of view has some issues, because it implies like a great enemy that is ready to hunt you down. And that in its turn creates a situation where you as a normal person either accept this great power and work for them in relative peace. You get your basic things, and you even have a possibility to rise within this order, or you oppose it and you lose much of your stability, and you become very vulnerable and targeted in this conspiracy. So basically it doesn't really make a good case for people standing up towards this tyranny. It makes the movement against this problem marginalized because of its implications. Also, it is so grand. This conspiratorial view of reality is so, it has such a large impact, and it's so grand that if you look at the normal person, they don't understand where you're coming from at all. If you haven't been studying all of this and made this puzzle kind of align with your worldview, then the normal person believes that we have quite a lot of freedom. They believe that we have a democratic system, and to change this belief that things are actually quite good into a belief that it is not, it's just an illusion, and there is some people that's trying to exploit you and corrupt the whole system. Even many people even see this like this mastermind, that there is one evil person in the top of this hierarchy, of this pyramid, that is creating this control grid everywhere. And that picture is, first of all, it's difficult to actually believe in, but it's also very frightening, and it doesn't give much hope, does it? It actually gives, the only hope is that we will all rise up and risk our future and our lives and fight against this machine and win, and then create this beautiful system. But that sounds quite like quite a task. It's not so easy. And most people, they're actually quite enjoying, not like this, they are enjoying the system as it's really good, but they do enjoy it to some extent. It does provide for many people, even though it also creates a very difficult situation for many people. But the most of the people who are actually in power to do something, they have relatively good, stable life. So what is this new perspective that we can use? Yes, it's like this. Instead of looking at they against us, this is basically a view that comes from feeling afraid. We're basically afraid of them, and we kind of create this image of this great opponent, and we're creating this separation. But what I want to do is to change this, to see how can we go together with the normal person who has this relative stability, but maybe are not so happy. How can we align more to their worldview, and from that position just steer this ship into a better direction, take this relative freedom that we have and work on it. So many people in this conspiratorial world don't really believe in the possibility to change the direction, because they think it's so controlled from the top, it's impossible. While the normal person thinks we have a democracy, so everything could be better as soon as we make the right decisions. So what I long to see is that we go closer to the normal worldview, and instead of looking at everything as a conspiracy, that they are conspiring against us, we look at it as that they are actually innocent, that they are not acting out longing to punish us, which is in many cases what many people think in this alternative movement, that they are here to make our life miserable. But instead we look at it that they are afraid. They are ignorant, and they're afraid. And they're afraid of us. They're afraid that we're going to overpopulate the planet. They're afraid that we're going to use all the last resources. They're afraid that we're going to rebel against them. And so they are fearful, and they are trying to protect themselves. So they are basically just acting to defend their own right to survive. And the problem that they have is rather that they are also like us in many cases, like this alternative or conspiratorial movement who are afraid of them. They have the same, they're afraid of us. And so all of this is a misunderstanding. Instead of saying that they are conspiring and lying, they have just misunderstood something. It's all about ignorance. It's not about that we're trying to make things difficult. It's about ignorance. We are ignorant in our false worldview that we create, this conspiratorial world. They're ignorant in their worldview that we, the masses, are going to take everything away from them and murder them. And it comes from this ignorance, and this ignorance is about feeling scarcity. It's about not trusting. If you look at nature, if you look at thriving systems, it's about trust. In nature, everyone gives to everyone. It's like a gifting economy. Everybody is giving. The bacteria is giving away nutrition to the roots of the flowers and things around, and they get back energy in form of carbs. And if you see everywhere in the system, is this like everybody's giving and receiving, but it's not like a trade. They don't like count the coins, so to speak. The ones who have anything extra, they give freely, and there is a trust. There's a trust that someone will give back. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but only because there might not be anything extra. But everyone who has extra will give it in the direction where there is a need. So there is, in a natural thriving system, it's just a trust. It's a trust that it will work if we just contribute with our part. So what we want to have is a movement that is positive and that trust. So instead of like being fearful towards the system, we will trust that there is possibilities to solve it if we give. If we give to the system our resources, it will be able to give back to us. We don't need to destroy the system, because the system is not controlled by this conspiracy. This conspiracy is a thing in our minds. The conspiracy is just a symptom of distrust. When the elite feels that they are afraid of us, they will protect themselves, and they will start building walls against each other, and they will try to control our behavior. And this is what appears to be this conspiracy. And it's based on this mutual distrust. They don't trust us, but we don't trust them. So we create also walls on our side towards them. And when you have this kind of lack, if you're living a life of lack, you create a lot of problems. It all comes back to your ignorance, because there is no lack. In nature, we trust. Everyone trusts each other, and it works. It creates the most abundance possible. So if you do the opposite and you think there's a lack, you create a lot of problem. You start spending all your money building this wall instead of giving. You become pessimistic. You believe that you won't survive, that there will be a flood, that there will be problems, that there will be assault. So instead of giving, we start saving. Instead of sharing, we start building bunkers. And we take all our surplus and we put it into our bunkers. And this is the same also. The elite, they save everything. They don't share with us because they don't trust us to use it wisely. And they're afraid of all kind of things, like the environment is breaking down, the virus is going everywhere, the people will revolt. All of this makes them more egocentric. They want to protect themselves. They don't trust that we can take care of them. And that is creating the appearance of this grand conspiracy. So instead of, from our point of view, instead of pushing this narrative that they are the evil ones trying to control us and ship us for exploiting us, instead we just look at them as human beings that just are a bit lost, like most people are. They don't trust, and they are living in scarcity. And that brings a very pessimistic mind frame. And I think this is a very important, like, key word to look upon, that they are actually not evil, they are pessimistic. They assume the worst. And not only them, it goes back to us also. We assume the worst from them, and they assume the worst from everything. And to be pessimistic doesn't imply evil, which is very important, because we won't win people into our moment by painting up this dark conspiratorial image. But if we can unite and say we have a common problem, the elite and the normal people, and basically all human beings have a very common distrust, and we are pessimistic about our future. And pessimism creates all these problems that we see. And so the solution to this pessimistic way is the optimist way. And to use this term, to be pessimistic and optimistic instead of good and bad, creates a world of change, because it doesn't label them in a negative way. Obviously, it's not good to be over pessimistic, but it is a quality that we can all accept, that we have ourselves. Also, we cannot accept that we're evil. We don't feel evil, do we? We're just trying our best. So, but we can accept that, okay, maybe I'm a bit pessimistic in this situation. And you can also see a path toward changing this. Yeah, I would like to be more optimistic, and I would like to start trusting in the world and in our society. So to just change the whole paradigm from good and bad, or good and evil, to pessimistic, positive, optimistic. This creates an openness. So when we see right now in this COVID hysteria, many people are pushing like they're lying in the news. They're lying, they're claiming that there is this big pandemic, that people are dying, then they're predicting that millions can die if we're not hiding from everything, hiding in our houses, not talking to each other, having these masks, and so on. Many in this alternative scene are seeing this as they're just preparing to control us more. They just want to enslave us and ship us and kill us, basically. No, we shift that into that they are afraid. They make these negative assumptions that we will all die, and that this virus will start spreading any moment. And even if there's no really evidence that people are dying in mass scale, which there is no such evidence, but they are acting on their pessimistic worldview. And this pessimism is so strong, so it is inside the whole of the media, it's inside of the whole of society, I would say. So people are just expressing their fears, and they're so afraid for a little flu-like virus that doesn't seem to have any bigger implication on the human health than any other flu season that we've seen. Maybe a tiny bit more, but all within reasonable levels. There is no evidence that we can actually see a large increase of death. So in reality, there is nothing to fear. But the media is just throwing out all this time this prediction that it's going to go up, we need to do more, we need to do this. And this pessimistic worldview is creating a state of shock in everyone and continuing to further the negative consequences. Because instead of sharing with each other our work, our joy, we're hiding from each other and we're not working. And by locking our mental and physical bodies in, we cannot contribute, and that creates the problem. The problem will be created from our fear and lack of trust that humanity will survive even this year, even this sickness, And just basically trust that even if there's a lot of people that would die, which will happen at some point, it's natural that sometimes big problems happen. That happens in nature. There's a big fire somewhere and there's a lot of trees that burn. But that doesn't make all the forests in all of the world to stop producing new leaves and trying to shake off their leaves and hide or something like this. No, we have to accept that nature takes its course, and we cannot stop everything because we're afraid. We need to just accept that death is part of life, and by trying to hide from death, we will only make the situation worse for everyone. Collective, it will become worse. We need to have a trust, a positive outlook. So I'm really into changing this so we can create a new movement of optimism where we don't put the blame on anyone. We're optimists in a way that we believe in all these people that are super afraid, that are right now building these walls, trying to control their environment. We believe that if we trust them and that we give them a chance, we can actually encourage them to feel trust in us, because we will actually give them, we will help them to trust, because they see that we are not out for them either.